So greetings everyone, and as you can see, today we are here with another AMA session. This is about Units Network, which focuses on a foundational layer 0 blockchain that enables a fully interoperable and trustless interaction across multiple chains. And it is also supporting infinite scalability. It offers, very importantly, restaking of assets, and it is secured by real-world assets at the same time. The ecosystem features omni-chain interoperability, a modular blockchain architecture, and a proof of restake consensus mechanism, which is very, very interesting, and I want to delve deep into that actually. And there are some key milestones of the project, such as Unit Zero Network, which introduces decentralized governance through the Unit Zero token. And actually, they are based on a popular Waves network. And the platform is aiming to expand, but I don't want to get into more because we are here with one of, if not the one, key player in the Unit Network and Waves, Sasha IVANOV. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And thanks for coming here. It's really interesting for me because there are many different and unique things that you do with units and waves. And today, I think I want to start with the basics. There is a white paper that you have actually co-written with different people. So I've checked out this white paper and it is very detailed. And you put your finger on a lot of problems and a lot of solutions actually on blockchain, which was very interesting. So I want to delve into the background and how you started. So we can position actually Units Network as a next generation of Web3 technology, as far as I can understand from the white paper, because you are doing something different and you want to do something different in the blockchain industry. So what are the key issues within the current blockchain ecosystems and how do you address them?
Yeah, basically, from technical perspective, the main problem in blockchain is scalability. It's very simple to explain. You can do too many transactions in your blockchain. It's very simple. So if you want to accommodate more applications, if you want to compete with, I don't know, with Visa, or if you want to have some non-financial stuff on blockchain, probably you will need to be able to send more transactions. And we cannot really do that at the moment. So we are coming up with different solutions to resolve this problem. And basically the main narrative here, which promises to resolve this eventually, is layer 2 narrative. How it works basically, since you can't fit all the transactions in one chain, what you do is you create a very strong, powerful main chain, base layer, Ethereum, for example. And you also create some lesser chains, some smaller chains, which you connect to that basis layer. And the consensus, which is the most important thing in blockchain, is established in that basis layer and can be used to, for example, to verify and actually make immutable transactions from all those higher layers. This is basically what a layer 2 narrative is, and it's been finalized at the moment. So it's not complete yet, and a lot of projects are working on some kind of finalization, on some kind of end game for layer 2 narrative, and we do that as well. And I think we have a more direct approach to this, and we want to reach this end game faster. So, and what this end game is going to be, you basically will have once again a robust layer 1 chain. Becomes not even layer 1 but layer 0, because it serves as some kind of connecting layer for all the chains connected to it. So it becomes some base layer 0, and you will have layers connected to it, and those layers are not to be those L2s that we have now, because most of the time they're not properly decentralized. For example, a lot of L2s that we have now basically run on one server. It's usually called sequencer. So which create the blocks, signs them, create some proofs, and put them onto Ethereum chain. And basically it is done by a single actor. So if that server goes down, you have a problem. So those chains have to be like properly decentralized, and we are trying to achieve that. And also, you need to resolve this problem of like interconnectivity between those layer twos, because now you can build like a lot of layers on top of Ethereum. But if you want to transfer tokens from one chain to another, you will have to use centralized gateways. Because there's no direct connection from Arbitrum chain to base chain from Coinbase, for example, or it's like you will need to have some kind of bridge, centralized bridge. So and it's really weird, basically, because all those chains are connected to one and only Ethereum. But to transfer tokens between those chains, you don't go through Ethereum even. You go through some like centralized bridges. So there is some kind of problem here. And if we want to use some like technical language here, it means that those chains are not fully interoperable. And this problem of interoperability is very important. So we are trying to resolve it. We are trying to connect all those chains into one ecosystem based on the base waves layer, which provides consensus guarantees. Basically, takes those like consensus guarantees and exports them to those layers. That's why what we do is called exported consensus. And it makes those layers properly decentralized and fully interoperable. So in my opinion, this is some kind of like end game for layer 2 narratives when you have a fully interoperable ecosystem of interconnecting chains with one major chain where you have basically consensus guarantees. And those consensus guarantees are used in all ecosystem chains, that makes them fully interoperable, meaning that you can transfer, for example, tokens from one chain to another in a fully trustless way. You don't need to have any kind of like gateways or centralized bridges. And this is something that probably Ethereum is doing as well. And like, if you follow Vitalik, sometimes I can see his tweets. So he's saying that like there's a lot of people in the Ethereum community, and we are really working hard on making all those layer twos fully interoperable. But it's going to be pretty hard for them because Ethereum is very, very big, almost as Bitcoin. Hard to move fast for them. But for smaller chains like Waves, we are small, flexible, and we can implement some technical improvements faster, and hopefully we can reach that narrative faster. The end, like the end game of layer 2 scalability. Of course, Ethereum is much, much bigger, so you have to create something really good technically so you can compete. But this is what we are trying to do. Let's see how it goes. In any case, I think that there is not any other directions for scalability at the moment, and I have always been interested in scalability. So I really want to do that, and I really want to do it in such a way that it's going to be very easy to launch your own chain in the ecosystem. And I think this can be another important advantage, another benefit of this project, because currently it's not so easy to launch your own L2. And if you want to launch your own chain connected to Ethereum, it's going to cost you quite a lot of money. But we want to make this process very simple. Basically, it works like that. You make a proposal in the ecosystem DAO, the DAO supports it, and you get your own chain running in a few days. And you don't need to maintain your own servers, like launch your nodes, because the existing community of validators supports your chain. So basically, what you need to do is to make a good proposal to the DAO, offer some incentives. For example, you have some like token, you have some project, and you have a token of that project. And you can say that, guys, if you support my chain, I allocate like 5% of supply to you over the year, vested for support, and basically miners will be becoming those tokens like as long as they support your chain. So this is basically the idea in a nutshell.
Yeah, and where you're coming from, I think is very, very relatable. The blockchain has been established to be decentralized by day, more and more, where it's becoming centralized by the big companies and the big validators. And the direction that you're going, you say it's the end game. It's very interesting because if it can be achieved, everything will be much more in order and everything will be much more free for people to access. And I think it is for the benefit of whole blockchain industry, what you're doing. And to establish this, yeah, and to establish this, you're using a really interesting thing. Actually, it's not very complex, but I think it's a novel idea still, and this is proof of restake, right? So compared to more traditional consensus models, what is the difference exactly?
Yeah, basically, we call it also exported consensus. Restaking is like a more popular narrative in the Ethereum community. So we also call it proof of restake. What it means that Waves is a proof of stake chain, and there is this like proof of stake consensus, and we want to reuse it in those like connected layers. We don't want to create new consensus. For example, as in Polygon, so in Polygon they have their own token in their layer 2, and they create the consensus from scratch. But we don't want to do that. So ideally, you would have, for example, if you use Ethereum as the base layer, for example, you use just staked Ethereum as some kind of like validating balance on connected layers. Basically, a lot of projects are doing this on Ethereum or trying to do eigenlayer, for example. And this is what we do as well, maybe in a more direct way, and focusing on consensus. So we have established proof of stake consensus on the base layer, and now we take from the base layer and basically export it to the connected layers, meaning that validators can use their balance of a Waves token on a base layer to support to validate connected chains. So we have the same consensus based on the same token balances, not only on the base layer, but also in all connected layers, meaning that once this consensus has been established in one chain, you can reuse it in all connected chains. And it's just like proof of restake, like proof of stake, proof of restake.
Yeah.
Because we have the same basically proof of stake algorithm, but it becomes restaking, not staking, but restaking. Or another way to call it is exported consensus, because you establish consensus in the base layer, you take it and you export it to all connected layers.
Yeah, it's kind of an advanced version of it. I mean, it has its own benefits.
Sure. Yes, and because so you don't create new things, so because you can just reuse something that has already been established in different ways without creating new tokens, without creating new consensus, and ideally, probably, like maybe in the distant future, we will have some kind of like mother blockchain, which whose only goal will be consensus. It has established consensus, and it's very simple. Maybe there is not going to be even smart contracts on it, so just like transfers, and it will be able to validate some like zero knowledge proofs from connected chains. But beside that, nothing. And basically, all connected chains will use this consensus established in this like mother chain. So this is something that to me seems very feasible. It's not going to be Bitcoin because probably it has to be proof of stake. Maybe Ethereum, I don't know, maybe something else. So yes, because the most important thing in blockchain is consensus. Once you have consensus, the rest basically follows.
Yeah, definitely. And to operate in the Units network especially, you are having your own token, Unit 0, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I want you to talk about Unit Zero, but first let's talk about the governance side. Do you operate on a DAO model?
Yes, we have a DAO, and this is something that I really care about. So in blockchain, two things that are of interest to me is scalability, and the other thing is new governance models. I think governance models are even more important because they have this promise to change like offline real world governance as well. They're not doing that yet, but this is our only hope to change the way society operates, in my opinion. And we seem to have a lot of problems with that at the moment, as everybody knows, looking at what's happening in the world. So yes, so we've been developing new governance models on Waves. Waves is running as a DAO now. We have been developing a new protocol. It's called Power Protocol. And actually, what makes it different? Basically, there is some kind of like accountability for decision makers. Meaning, if you make good decisions, you're rewarded because there is some kind of KPI set at the DAO launch. And if this KPI is met, you are rewarded in some way, depending on the DAO. And if those KPIs are not met, and you have been participating in the decision-making process, but it wasn't successful because probably you made wrong decisions, you are being punished or slashed. Basically, your governance power is diminished. It's like being taken away from you. Your governance token are taken from you and burned. So it creates some kind of accountability. So you won't be voting like blindly without thinking, because your actions will have consequences, basically. So, and it's I think it's a very important improvement, to the existing simple DAO model, because
Yeah,
what
it's
we
more
have now is
realistic,
more
first
DAOs.
of all.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
So this is this is like the next step for the DAOs, and there can be like a lot of further steps as well. But this step is like the first step. Should take us from the simplest DAO model, where everybody votes with their token balances, and the whales usually control the DAO completely. They just have more votes. And it will take us from this very simple model to something that can potentially, eventually, in the real world governance. And if we are successful with this, I think it can have an impact not only on blockchain world, but on like real world as well.
Yeah. I mean, everything that you're doing is for a more decentralized, more equitable, and more equal environment, I think. And I really like what I'm seeing. But it has also advantages for the users more than that. For example, the Unit Zero token, I think they leverage kind of the advantages of stable coins, but also they are utilizing the growing value of real world assets at the same time.
Yes, I think a real world asset narrative is really big. And because I've been like in blockchain space, I think since 2014, and I've seen that narrative in different versions already.
Yeah.
So it was called tokenization, and I was like 2017. We had a lot of projects as well. So now it's called RWA, and some people may think that it's a bit fake, but it's not really the case. So there is some kind of like centralized aspect to it. For example, launch a real world asset on a blockchain, it means that there's some like third party that control that asset. Basically, that's just like just stores or keeps that asset and provides some legal guarantee that your token is somehow connected to that asset. So there is this element of centralization basically ingrained into the setup. So, and you probably can't do without it. But on the other hand, I think blockchain creates just a better environment for those assets, because I usually mention that you have a lot of like millennials and Zoomers now who trade meme coins, and they can't wrap their head around the fact that someone called me. I'll tell you. uh, and they can wrap their head around the fact that they cannot trade Tesla stock on Sunday, for example, So they just why? I can trade any meme coin on Solana anytime I want, but somehow I can't buy Tesla on Sunday. It's weird. So I think eventually we will have all financial assets on the blockchain because it just creates a better environment for them.
It's kind of natural growth path for
Yeah.
the everything.
Absolutely. It's maybe it's not a revolution, but it's just a better environment,
Yeah.
Because it provides like accessibility 24/7. So it's good. Yeah, and that's why we're like focusing on some RWA projects as well. We have like a stablecoin project in the ecosystem, RWA stablecoin, which will be launched as soon as Units has launched. And also the goal after we have launched the first chain, which is Unit Zero, and the first token, which is Unit Zero token, which also serve as a governance token of the whole ecosystem. The goal is to have several launches right after that in different narratives. So we can show that we are creating an agnostic ecosystem. It's not focused on one narrative. It's like really agnostic because this is what we do. So we don't want to like say that, guys, this is like RWA chain because it's like pure marketing, also, and if this somehow is not so big tomorrow, so you'll have to call your chain something else, and it's stupid. So it's a very agnostic project focusing on different narratives. So we will try to have some projects from all narratives: AI, DeFi, RWA, and whatnot. So this is the goal here, and why we do that, because it's good for marketing as well, because we can tap into different narratives. And also we will show that we are not focusing on one narrative, we are properly agnostic, and any project that needs its own blockchain and they need it fast, they want to launch it fast, can come to Units and launch their own chain just in a couple of days, basically.
Yeah. Well, I think, yes, for the narrative purposes, it is great, but also for the real world purpose to be there with the stable coin is actually a great thing to have in the project. And what is more, this is not the only thing that they put forward, but you are actually fighting against the centralization risks in a lot of bridges. And as you mentioned, these bridges work in a way that is not the end game for the blockchain technology yet.
Yeah. So bridging is a very sensitive topic, in my opinion, because you can have properly centralized bridges. So you can have them in certain situations. For example, interconnectivity between a unit blockchains like within the ecosystem will be trustless. So because you can make it on the same security assumptions as the transactions, for example, in the main wave chain. So it means that basically transferring liquidity from one chain to another is not much different from transferring liquidity within one chain. But this requires a special setup. And if you have jointed ecosystems, I think it's impossible to create trustless interconnectivity between them. So in certain situations you can do that, but even within Ethereum ecosystem you can't have this. Even if you have like several EVM chains, you still have centralized bridging between them. So this is a problem which basically is somehow caused by the scalability problem, because you can't fit everything into one chain. So you create a lot of chains, and different teams create them, and they have different focus, different marketing, different technology, and they don't think to make them like fully interoperable, because their goal is to launch their own chain, like push their own token, and they don't think about like interoperability that much. So you have a lot of like disjointed, disparate chains, and this is a problem which probably won't be resolved until we have resolved scalability. In this case, probably those chains will either disappear or merge, so, and it's going to be easier to establish trustless interconnectivity between a smaller number of chains. because it's like, okay, we can somehow come up with some setup for EVM chain to EVM chain trustless bridge, but I don't really know how we can do Solana to EVM, for example.
This is where you actually propose chain agnostic bridges, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So yes, you can have something almost decentralized. You can have some like validators community or some kind of federated systems, like Wormhole, for example. I think this is a good approach. Actually, they just onboard big companies to be validators for the bridges. They have some like terms of service and guarantees from them. So this is something that can work in practice. In theory, so we won't have like fully trusted bridges, and bridging is a big problem, for crypto. And it's better to have less chains, and it's better to have less ecosystems. And in this case, we will be able to create some kind of like fully interoperable trustless bridges. If we have tons of different chains, I don't think we will be able to connect them in such a way that we won't have those huge hacks, and because those like bridges, they're centralized. They're not smart contract. There's a smart contract part, but there's always some backend part as well, which can be hacked, and billions of dollars have already been lost. And I don't think this is the way to go. So we need to work on scalability, and once scalability has been solved, this will also solve the bridging problem at the same time.
Yeah. You address lots of problems, and I just like listening to it because for 1 or 2 years, I feel like the blockchain has been more stabilized in terms of new technological advancements. I mean, we see new projects, we see new things come, but none of them are so innovative that it is mind-blowing. And what you're telling right now feels like the next step of where blockchain can go.
Hopefully, I as I said, I hope for DAOs. Like I think this is like can be a huge narrative in the future. And in terms of like scalability, I think for the next decade we will have layer 2's narrative being like finalized. And what happens next, I'm not really sure. So maybe we won't need so many blockchains, so much block space. Let's see how it goes. So if people just trade meme coins, I think we don't need that much blockchain. So yes.
Yeah. So looking at the units network, actually, I just see that you have also launched your testnet. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah,
how is it
absolutely.
going? How was, I mean, it's always a big step to launch a testnet for any project. It's an important milestone. How it is going for you? How was it?
Yes, actually, we are running traditional in this respect. We're not being too innovative because I think retro drop approach is good. I like retro drops because there is no financial risk for the users. Basically, they help you test your network by like doing some transactions, connecting their wallets, doing swaps, and they are rewarded for it in your token once it's launched. And there's also like TVL campaign where they can take some liquidity, but that liquidity can be taken back. So there is no like financial risk, there's no commitment. And I like this approach a lot, so we do that. As far as I can understand, return drops are not so big now, but I still like the approach. So we wanna we wanna do that still. So now users can basically help us test the network by doing transactions. They get some points for that, and those points can be converted into Union Zero token once it's launched. So it's running on units.network, and it doesn't require any kind of like financial commitment. You can just like connect your MetaMask, change to Union Zero testnet in the network list, and just help us test the network, guys. And it's very simple. So testnet is fully operational. The development has almost been finished. Basically, everything is running already. We are planning to launch the token in mid-September, so basically less than in a month. But you still can help us and earn some Unit0 tokens, so you're very welcome to participate. And the community is growing. Basically, our marketing efforts are just starting, to be honest. So yeah, please come to units.network, check it out. I think you'll be very helpful, and we really appreciate new people coming to the ecosystem.
Yeah, the community is growing. I can see that on Twitter, and there are new partnerships always established for Units Network.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just starting with business development, since development, like actual, like technological development has been almost done. Now it's time to do business development, and we'll be onboarding a lot of projects soon.
Yeah.
Like a lot of announcements are coming this week, several announcements, and later as well. And yeah, so the goal is to have several projects launching on Units right after the first token, the first network, which is Zero network, has been launched.
Yeah. And speaking of community, are there any campaigns that are going on right now? And will there be any campaigns in the future? Or events?
Yes, absolutely. So as I said, Testnet campaign, if you can participate, TVL campaign, it's only for Waves token. Probably won't be making any TVL campaigns for other tokens because it's mostly focused on Waves community. But if you have Waves, or maybe if you're ready to buy some Waves and stake it, so check it out. It's not huge, but we have a very vibrant community, so you might actually enjoy participating. And also we have traditional Zili campaign.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing Zili. Zili is a great tool.
It's a good, great tool.
Yeah, I wish them well. I think they've done a very nice, they've made a very nice product for crypto community. So you can do some tasks on Zili as well. And you guys, we just need more people. We don't need your money. So you can just come and do some like tasks like retweets, followings, and do some transactions, install MetaMask. And that's all we ask.
Yeah,
from you.
Great. And actually, finally, I'm curious about the long-term plans. I think from the roadmap, 2025 until 2026 will be big for the project. And at the end of 2024, again, there will be events. So can you talk us through the long-term plans of Units Network? Because long-term plans are always important for the projects to have.
Absolutely, yeah. So as soon as we launch, we're gonna run hackathons. It's in different locations, of course, and we're gonna be doing a lot of events. If you maybe wanna talk to me in person, I'm gonna go to Korean blockchain week at the beginning of September, and then I'm gonna go to Singapore to token 2049. Like it's gonna be like in about 3 weeks. Yes, and yes, we're gonna be doing a lot of events. I'm most of the time in Dubai now, so I'm gonna be doing some Dubai events. And yes, so you will see a lot of action because now we have been focused on development of the protocol itself. So we did not have a lot of like business development, but now we have business development people, and you will see a lot of projects coming to Units, a lot of meetups, events all over the world. We have several like historically active community in Waves, as is probably Turkey, Korea, CIS countries, Central Europe, Latin America, some other countries as
in
well.
The world.
So, somehow for them, Turkish community is very active. I was in Istanbul last week. And yeah, so I enjoyed it a lot, and so we're gonna be doing something big in Turkey, I think. Yes, and we're gonna be making waves and making noise, so you will hear about us.
Great. And for development, any plans for the future?
Yes, so my goal is to help launch several projects. Like I'm not sure how I will participate in this as an advisor, or maybe more deeply. But my goal is to launch AI project, and I will actually be happy to be involved more on that, because AI is a very interesting thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, actually, maybe a bit more long term, we're going to be improving and upgrading the base layer, which is Waves.
Mm-hmm.
Waves, the chain that was launched a long time ago, 2016. In blockchain world, it's centuries. So it needs some upgrading as well. And I have a lot of ideas about this, like something similar to what I mentioned about like mother chain that works only on consensus guarantees and doesn't do anything else. So this is something that probably will happen to Waves. And all business logic, all smart contracts will be moved to connected layers. And Waves will be doing only consensus. And this is what we will do probably in 2025. Also, we'll integrate zero knowledge technology into all those layers. I like the technology. It does have a lot of problems. It's not so practical. I would say no, it's in theory it's great, but when you try to use it like in the real world, you run into some limitations. But I think those limitations will be resolved in the near future, and zero knowledge is a great technology. So we will be integrating it as well. Yes, and also for me, as I mentioned a couple of times, I always mention that for me, DAOs, the DAOs are very important, and we will be working more on our DAO protocol, Power protocol, and we'll be actually trying to market it like separately. And I'm actually not ready to discuss it just now, but we are preparing a campaign around Power protocol as well. And I'll try to make this DAO narrative as big as I can, because I think this is very important. People are like focusing on speculation, mostly in crypto.
But you are really into what you do. You really love what you do, from what I can understand.
Sure. I've been doing that. Like, I'm not gonna stop because I've been in the space since actively. Since for 10 years by now. Yes. So, and it was not always like nice. I would say that we have seen a lot of different things, but I just can't imagine myself doing anything else. So I'll be doing this as long as I can.
Great. Is there anything else you want to add? You talked about a lot of things, but is there anything else?
Yeah, guys. So basically, check us out. Unit's goal is to it's like two-pronged approach. So basically, on more theoretical part, we are trying to complete this layer 2 narrative, which I think is going to be some kind of end game, not for Waves, but for scalability, at least in the next decade. And on more practical side, we are trying to create a very simple process for launching your own chain, because a lot of projects need that. I can see that. So they want to launch their own chain, but there is no like turnkey solution, So you have to hire some coders, like mount your own servers. So it's complicated. We want to make this process very simple. Waves actually, which I mentioned, was launched in 2016. Was pretty famous back then because it was very simple to launch your own token. It was a very simple process, and it still is actually. You need to just fill out a form and click a button, and you have your own token. So it was a very simple process. So we want to do the same for blockchains. What we did actually for tokens back in 2016, 17. So it has to be as simple to launch your own chain as to launch your own token. And this is what we are going to do. And yeah, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more.
I thank you for being here, talking us through the projects, the Waves, Units Network, and yourself, your plans included. And you talked a lot about the projects and yourself, and it sounds like the next logical step for blockchain to go. And if you are interested, guys, the links for the Testnet and TVL campaign will be down in the descriptions, as well as social media channels of Units, Waves, and Mr. Sasha IVANOV as well. So thank you once again for being here and answering the questions from the community and from myself. It's been a great talk with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.